Hello, welcome to another video. You look fantastic today. I hope you're well. Let's talk about what happens when you take over a community that was not previously doing any sort of utility billing. Let's pretend this is an older community. It's not a property that is sub-metered, so you don't have an on-site AMR system, but this property would qualify for an allocated utility billing program should have the previous team been doing it, okay? You roll up day one and you're like, oh my goodness, there's no active billing program in place. What do I do? There's three things that I want you to write down that you should be doing. Thing number one, I want you to go through the leases and I want you to see, was the previous management team recouping the utility expense in a different way? You know, sometimes properties we see when we take over sites and we're looking at leases, we see that the previous management team or previous ownership team was trying to recover the utility expense through, an increased rent amount, all right? So rent was up 50, 60, 70 bucks a month compared to other properties on the street because the owner was attributing that dollar amount to the water expense month over month, right? Or the property was incorrectly billing, which is most of the time, that's the case. And they were doing some sort of flat rate billing or utility bundle billing. So there's no specific income associated with each of the utilities that are being billed back, but there's one lump utility income dollar amount that is being used to offset the expense of many different utilities. That's not a good RUBS program, right? And so I would still consider that in the bucket of you're not doing RUBS, right? RUBS is ratio utility billing, which means something's being allocated. So that's step number one. I want you to look at the leases and I want you to see, is this expense being offset by a different setup for billing? Was there another charge that was being passed through to the tenant to help offset this expense? Thing number two that I want you to do is I want you to start RUBS. I want you to really think long and hard about what it would mean for you, your management team, and your ownership team if you begin to allocate out your utility expenses each and every month. And really the third thing is I want you to pick a date. I want you to decide, if I take over today, June 1st, 2023, and I can get my act together and update my default lease to include the utility addendums, then as of June 2nd, 2023, my default lease now includes these addendums. So all new leases signed, all new leases renewed will begin to include these utility addendums. So June 2nd and forward, we're starting RUBS. Those are the three things. See if the previous management team was recouping the utility expense through a different type of billing, just so that you're aware of that. It'll also help you to understand what the residents were conditioned to receive previously. Number two, I want you to strongly consider starting a real, true, valid, accurate RUBS program. And thing number three is I want you to pick a date. Decide when you're going to update that default lease to include the allocated utilities addendums or flat rate addendums for, trash, if that's a utility you're choosing to bill through, and start to implement that as soon as possible post takeover.